Look at the math. First marriages, roughly 50% divorce rate. Second marriages, 60 to 70% divorce rate. Third marriages, 70 and greater divorce rate. We're not getting better and better at this. So what does that tell us?
Hey everyone, you're watching Mighty Pursuit. Life is too hard to navigate without a map, so we built one for the entire human experience. Each episode, we bring one part of life into focus, and today we're making sense of dating and marriage. Our guest is James Sexton, one of America's most well-known divorce lawyers. For more than 2 decades, Sexton has worked on thousands of divorces, giving him an unusually close view of why relationships actually end. I'm Matthew Thompson, and I'm your host. To make sense of it all, we're following 5 clues, including why women initiate 69% of divorces, why expensive weddings can predict failure, and somehow what blowjobs and granola have to do with it all. Now, let's see what pattern emerges. So, James, you tell a story about a couple, a bag of granola, and blowjobs. So start at the beginning. What happened?
Yeah, I was representing a young woman. She was very successful in her own right. She worked in finance, and she was married to a guy who worked in finance. They had a couple young kids, and they were divorcing. You know, like helicopter view, the reason they were divorcing was that he'd gambled away his bonus every year. He'd been putting it in an account that she didn't even know existed. But really the truth was they just sort of disconnected as a couple over a period of time. That was like the symptom, not the root cause. And we'd spend a lot of time together because when you have like a complex divorce like this one where we had to prove wasteful dissipation of marital assets by the gambling, we spent a lot of time together. And you get to know your client really well. You get a lot of miles with them. And we were sitting outside of the courtroom. The lunch break was ending. I just got myself like an espresso, and we were just sitting there waiting for court to resume. And we were making small talk. And I said, just because I'm always curious, I said, was there like a moment where you realized that the marriage was over? And she said, oh, yeah, it's kind of weird though. And I said, what was it? And she said, well, there's this granola that I used to always put in my yogurt. She's like, and I would have it for breakfast every morning. And but they only sold it at this one Whole Foods. And he would always just buy it for me. Like he would just, like the bag would be getting close to empty and I would just open the cabinet and there'd be a new bag of it. And she's like, it was funny because he didn't look for like a pat on the head from it, like what Chris Williamson calls good boy points. Like it wasn't like, look what I did, I got your granola. Like it wasn't that. It was just a thing he did. Like it was just this little act of love. And she was like, it made me feel very noticed. It made me feel very like seen and loved and connected. She said, and then one day like the granola was running out. And I thought, oh, that's strange. But I didn't replace it because I thought, oh, maybe he's just busy and he didn't notice. And then it ran out. And she said, I left the empty bag there thinking, oh, like I want to give him the chance to get it right. And she said after like a couple of days, he still hadn't. And she said, I remember thinking, oh, I think this thing might be going down. And it struck me as such a profoundly sad but totally relatable story because it was about these little things that we do for each other that make the other person feel loved. And I said to her, is there anything like that like you would do for him? And without missing a beat, she said, yeah, blowjobs. And I literally spit my coffee out. And she said, no, really, blowjobs. She's like, when we were first dating, she's like, I would just like, give him blowjobs a lot. Like, she's like, sometimes just in the morning before we like start the day. She's like, because it took like 3 minutes, and the rest of the day he'd be like in a good mood or he'd shoot me a text and be like, oh, this morning was so hot, and she's like, I don't know, it just like didn't really require much of me. And it felt like something that made his day. And it was like, I kind of wanted to make his day. She's like, and then at some point I guess I just stopped. She's like, partly because like I'd think, oh, well, like I'll wait till tonight and we'll have sex and we both have fun. We'll both enjoy it then, because the kids came and life got in the way. And she said, I wonder like if like chicken or the egg, like if the blowjobs hadn't stopped, if the granola would have stayed, if the granola had stayed with the blowjobs, and I just remember thinking, not that they're comparable, I think getting someone to buy you granola versus getting oral sex from someone are probably 2 different levels of intimacy. But they're both something that you do primarily for your partner's pleasure and benefit that sends a message about where their happiness and pleasure is in your sense of priorities and the pleasure you derive from their pleasure. And I think there's a lesson in there that resonates with people.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, the first time I heard that story is like the contrast of it is just so jarring. A bag of granola and
versus blowjob.
Yeah, just those two acts. I mean, tell me a little bit more about why do you think those small acts are so meaningful to people?
Well, I think that they're the points of connection that maintain the connection between two people. I mean, I think in relationship, it's really, really easy to think about what do we owe each other. And society is constantly talking about what do you owe your partner and what do you not owe your partner, and the mental load and, the sort of thankless tasks that we do in the management of a household or of a family. And there's a validity to that. I mean, like love is grand gestures and romantic things, but it's also like a day-to-day life with someone. It's a verb. It's taking out the trash and making sure, like a lot of our day-to-day life is consumed with, the business of running a home, whether you have children or not. And so when you really couple with someone in a meaningful way, whether it's marriage or cohabitation or a long-term relationship, you're merging those aspects of your day-to-day life. And the idea is, are you of service to each other? And do you owe each other that service? I don't know that you do. You also don't have to be in a relationship. You could just choose not to be in a relationship, and then you won't owe anybody anything. But I do think that if you rob someone of solitude, you owe them companionship. And I think that there's value in taking the commitment with another person seriously, because I do think no single raindrop's responsible for the flood. But the flood is just a bunch of raindrops. Like, you can't claim otherwise. Like, that's what it is. And so I tend to think about relationships like ecosystems. I tend to think about, like an ecosystem, if you take a lizard out of an ecosystem, you don't have that forest less the lizard. You get a whole new forest, because that lizard used to eat this bug, that bug used to eat the plant, and now it's overrun. Mm-hmm. And you can go, let me add the lizard back. But it's not going to go back to what it was, because now the plants have overrun and the bugs can't handle it. And now so it's the same thing in relationship. Like, I think we have this fragile ecosystem sometimes in relationship. And because we've been taught from a very young age that this is just something we should be good at. Like, they spent a lot of time when I was a young man trying to teach me how to divide fractions or the quadratic formula. I can fully tell you at the age of 53, like, I've never needed to know what a fraction is when multiplied by 0. It's never come up. But how do I de-escalate a conflict with my romantic partner? How do I, how do I figure out what's going on in another person in a way that won't make them defensive, but will give me the tools I need to be able to stay connected to them? These are really useful things. Whatever your political affiliation, whatever your spiritual inclination, like, those are useful things. And so I don't know why there's no instruction manual for something that has no business being unmanualed. Because what we do in the absence of instruction is what humans do. We watch other humans. And who do we watch? We watch our parents and our grandparents. Like, well, one, they might not have been particularly good at it because they were watching their parents. That's how they learned. So that's how, like, this generational stuff gets so messy. And also now we watch social media, which isn't even an honest accounting of anything, And so and watching social media and thinking that's going to show you how to have a good relationship is like watching the Dukes of Hazzard and then getting mad that, like, your car keeps ending up in ditches because you used it as a way to learn about how to drive. Like, that's insane. Like, so I tend to think that relationships are really about these little connections. Most people, if you are brave enough to say to your partner, and I encourage everybody to do it because I think it can be a really fun thing to do, to say to your partner, can you tell me 3 things I did this week that made you feel loved? You will be surprised sometimes by the answer. Like, you'll be surprised by the little tiny things you do that make your partner feel loved. If you really thought about what are the times that you feel loved in your relationships, it doesn't even have to be a romantic relationship. It might be something that person doesn't even know they're doing. I mean, sometimes the fact they don't know they're doing it makes it even sweeter because it's just a thing they do because it's them, authentically them. So I think those little things are everything. I really do. And I think we keep shooting at the target of the big things. Yeah. And I don't think it has to be that complicated.
Yeah. I was just going to say that. I think it's fascinating because I feel like the big thing is it makes the whole relationship simpler in a sense. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, they cheated on me. And that's what ended up marriage instead of the 1,000 little complicated moments that you're talking about.
I mean, and I love that. Look, I get it. Like, there's a reason why when you're a kid, you like pro wrestling. There's very clearly defined good guys and bad guys. You know, the bad guy comes in, he's wearing all black. They play the music, like, and he's the bad guy. And then the good guy comes in and it's inspiring music and he's wearing bright colors. Like, when you're a little kid, the world feels safer. When you know the bad guy has on a black hat and sunglasses and like the good guy like is, you know, tall and smiling, like it would be so lovely if the world was that way, I guess, but it's not. Like, human emotional complexity is a real thing and anyone over a certain age should know that. So we have to recognize that, you know, all of these disconnections that lead to the big marriage killers, we've seen the enemy and they is us. Like, it's us. And you can spend a lot of time trying to figure out which came first, the lack of granola or the lack of blowjobs. Or you could just reverse the spiral. Like, I'm a big fan of just reverse the spiral. Just start being kinder to your partner. Start giving more to your partner. Like, because what's the downside risk of that? You're not going to hear that a lot from the algorithm because the algorithm prefers conflict and prefers engagement. And the best kind of engagement is enragement engagement. There's no course to sign up for. There's no book to buy. Like, I've got a book, but like, you could sum that up in like a paragraph. There's nothing to sell. I can't sell you anything about this. So it's not surprising to me that there's not a chorus of people talking about, hey, be slightly nicer to your romantic partner, and they might be slightly nicer to you.
I think that's a profound point. I mean, you mentioned the thing about social media and where people get their references and sources of information. I mean, one of the things that we like doing on the show is there connections that could be made in a scientific discovery versus what's found in a courtroom? And normally when you see multiple streams of things happening with one connection point, telling the same truth, I'm like, oh, this is articulating something real. And one of the reasons why that story stood out to me is because I've studied John Gottman's work.
Sure.
You know, he's probably the most famous guy in history, psychologist for studying relationships. I think 40,000 couples or something like that.
The Gottmans are brilliant.
Yeah. And they were able to predict divorce with 94% accuracy in some studies. And he said that one of the top predictors was bids for connection.
Yeah, 4 horsemen.
Yeah. And so when I heard the blowjobs and granola story, I was like, oh, this feels like a courtroom version of like what he was finding in his labs.
Well, I think the Gottmans in particular, Esther Perel, there's a lot of really brilliant people out there, many of whom I end up either sharing a stage with or sharing a platform with. And I love their point of view. And very often my point of view is in no way in conflict with theirs. They're coming up with, okay, here's the data set. And here's what we should do with those ingredients. Like, here's the prescription. And I'm grateful for that. As a consumer of it, I'm grateful for it. Like, I'm a human being in relationship. It's important to me to learn how to be better at relationship, any kind of relationship. But I do think there is value in the lawyer's perspective, because a lawyer says it doesn't matter what I know. What matters is what I can prove. Because there are things I know that I can't prove. And in a courtroom, I'm thinking a lot about, how do I prove it? You say you love your child. That's nice. You know that to be true. What is the evidence of it? You know, what will I show a judge? What will you testify to? What documentary proof do I have? What photos, video, audio? What additional witnesses will I bring in to prove the thing? Because that's what matters to me as a lawyer. And I think because of that, I supplement what the mental health relationship people are saying.
It's funny you mentioned the prove thing. I just watched the Michael Jackson documentary on Netflix.
Oh, I watched that too.
Okay, yeah.
I haven't watched the movie, the fictional or whatever.
I saw that
it is.
too. But,
I haven't seen that.
And for people that are listening that are Michael Jackson fans, I'm not trying to say he did or didn't do it. People get really worked up about it, but
people have strong opinions.
The point is, I was watching that documentary, and you would see these people get on the stand, and I'm like, this is so convincing. Yeah. And then they would do then the defense lawyer would come up,
cross-examination,
and just eviscerate it.
It's
and
amazing.
I'm like, you walked in and it was like, that felt so true. And then you walk out and you're like, oh, I don't know what's true anymore.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that says something so profound about marriage, because in a marriage, there's two stories.
Yeah.
And it's like, which story is reality?
Well, I think they're both reality. It's, David Byrne in the Talking Heads, one of his lyrics is, facts all come with points of view. Facts don't do what I want them to. And I've always loved the line, because my job is to weaponize facts. And I'm acutely aware of the fact that facts come with points of view, and they often don't do what I want them to. Because I think you can simultaneously both have truth as to the perspective of what happened. Like it's not the facts that are often in dispute, it's the interpretation of those facts. And that's the thing that's challenging is how do you reconcile your interpretation of those facts, your emotional experience, if you will, of those facts? Because I'm not going to argue with your feelings. Like, you feel the way you feel. I don't know about you. Like, I feel the way I feel. Like, sheer power of will, I can't force myself to stop feeling a certain way. I feel the way I feel. Sometimes I wish I didn't feel the way I feel, but I feel the way I feel. Sometimes I'm ashamed of the way I feel, but I feel the way I feel. And I can even try to understand in therapy, why do I feel that way? Why is this thing emotionally charged for me? Why does this bring up that emotion? And maybe I'll see, this has nothing to do with this person. It has to do with my mom, and it has to do with a childhood experience. And I'm now sort of, this holds that charge for me. That's the beauty of being in therapy, is you start to see these connections that maybe you didn't see before and interpret the data differently. But I still feel the way I feel. And so I'm much more interested in help me understand the data differently. Help me understand what's happening here differently. And to me, and maybe it's just my personality, I think that's a really lovely and intimate conversation to have with another human being, particularly a romantic partner, but another human being. Like, to just, what are you experiencing right now in this? Like, here's what I'm feeling right now. Like, here's how I feel about you. I feel very close to you right now. I feel very, do you feel that way? And by the way, let's be honest with each other. Like, actually, I feel kind of like a little weird. I feel on the spot. Okay, cool. Like, I don't want you to. Like, I want you to feel how I'm feeling. So, is there something I can do to be of service to that for you? Or is that wrong of me to expect you to feel that way? Should I just adjust my expectation? Or maybe even knowing that you're feeling differently will make me feel a little differently about the interaction? Like, I just think there's so much value in acknowledging the fact that this other person is having a totally different emotional experience with the same data as you. And I don't see that there's any loss in sharing data, because theoretically, I want to be good at being in relationship. I want to know your Rosetta Stone. Like, I want to know what's the language of you. What did I do this week that made you happy? What did I do this week that made you feel seen or loved? What did I do this week that made you feel unseen and unloved? What did I do this week that turned you on? Because the answer sometimes is shocking. Like, I'm busy here thinking I have to have 8-pack abs. And what you think was sexy about me was when I, carried the groceries in, or when I was toweling off the dogs when they came in wet from the rain, and you thought that there was something sexy about the way I was doing. Like, I wouldn't know that, and maybe you wouldn't know the things that you do. And I think there's value in sharing that data. It can be one of the most enjoyable experiences to share that data.
Yeah. I think it's fascinating that your client in the original blowjobs with Granola story was obviously aware that this was something that had happened, and there was a disconnection that happened, and they stopped doing those things.
I think in retrospect, she was aware of it.
Retrospect. And so These seem like such simple things, right?
Because they are.
So why do you feel like we stopped doing them?
I mean, I think a couple of reasons. One, I think whoever discovered water, it wasn't a fish. Like, I think it's just something that we just take for granted and we don't see anymore. You know, like I have a couch in my living room. If you ask me what color it is, I couldn't tell you. It's been there for 10 years. Like, but I just see it so often, I don't really notice it anymore. And I really don't know what color it is, legit. So I think sometimes when something's just in your line of sight, you stop seeing the details of it. I also think, too, there's just so much other stuff to think about. I think it's, the 1,000 natural shocks the flesh is heir to, right? Like there's so many things coming at us all day long. And one of the nicest feelings I think about being in relationship is, okay, I've got that. I got that. Like I found my person. Mm-hmm. I found my person. They found their person. Like now I can focus on getting this done and worry about that. And I got this with my mom I got to deal with and this with the kid. Or, like there's so much other stuff consuming the bandwidth in our brain that it's perfectly natural to like set it and forget it. And go, okay, cool. Like I got that now, and again, it's not out of like lack of gratitude for this thing, like, I mean, when I had a toothache a couple of weeks ago, like pretty bad toothache. And, all I could think about all day was how my tooth hurt. And I remember thinking like, oh my God, if this would just stop, I'll be the happiest person in the world. And it did. Like I went to the dentist and it stopped. And for like half a day, I was thrilled. I was like, oh my God, I don't have a toothache. And then I just went back to being an ungrateful asshole. Like I just went back to like, I didn't wake up today and go, oh, I don't have a toothache. This is great. Like I woke up today and was like, okay, I have this to do and this to do. I think that's normal. I think that's okay. But I also think we have all these devices, we have all these, phones and watches and things that beep at us. Like what we couldn't just put something in those to remind us to like, hey, you remember when the most important thing in the world, it felt like it was finding your person? Like that was the biggest thing. You had all those apps or you told all your friends about all the characteristics you wanted in this person and you searched for this person and you picked all the wrong people maybe and then you found the person. And you're like, I think this is the person. It's like a job you applied for and then you got it and you called everybody you know and you're like, oh my God, I found the job. And it's not just a job, like it has room for growth. Like this could be my career. This could be my vocation, And then you go show up for your first day and you wear your new thing and you got a new bag and you're excited for the job and for a little. And then after like 6 months, you're like, it's only a fucking job, like whatever, another day at the office. And again, I think it's normal. It's human. But gosh, if you could stop for a second and like remember how bad you wanted that job, like how bad you wanted someone to see you, how bad you wanted someone that you could just be like, this is me. This is all the beautiful things in me, and this is all the awful, embarrassing, terrifying things in me and the shit I need to work on. And I'm going to show it all to you, and you'll actually maybe love me anyway. Like, think about how bad you wanted that. And then you got it. And then you just kind of forget that you have it, or you take for granted that you have it. Like, I genuinely don't think that there's malice in our hearts for that. I just think there's just so much other stuff going on that it's really easy to lose the plot. And I think there's tremendous value in just every day having that little bit of mindfulness and maybe even some small act to remind yourself and your partner of your connection. And I also think too, even if you did it for purely selfish reasons, because I think when we fall in love, I don't think we just fall in love with the other person. I think we fall in love with how the other person makes us feel and how they make us feel about ourselves. When someone loves you and wants to be with you, you stand a little taller, you feel a little more handsome or beautiful or smart or wonderful because you see yourself through the eyes of the person who holds you in such high esteem. And I think when that starts, one of the things the Gottmans really talk about well is that idea of like contempt. That, when your partner starts doing the like, what? Yeah, whatever, I don't know. Like that, or starts like taking the piss out of you around friends. Like that's such a betrayal because There's something so beautiful about someone liking you so much that out of 8 billion people, they pick you. That's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, no one probably starts this journey thinking that they're going to end up in that state and the resentment and everything else.
Yeah. I can tell you, as someone who does 5 or 6 prenups a week, nobody thinks they're going to end up there. Everybody's got an abundance of optimism, and that's beautiful. It's a lovely thing that everyone has that optimism.
And so I think it's clear that obviously the little moments hold tremendous amount of power. But I think if you go back to the beginning of the relationship, I think that's interesting because you've alluded to it multiple times. There's so much focus on falling in love, but virtually no conversation or focus about what it actually takes to stay in love. And why do you think that is?
Well, I think there's something kind of magical and intoxicating about falling in love. And I think that always captures our collective cultural imagination. Like it's lovely. It's lovely. I still please at weddings. I get misty-eyed. My older son got married last year. It was like I was weeping like a little kid. Like this is lovely. Like watching love stories and people who were strangers out of 8 billion people and they find each other. It's amazing. What a beautiful story that is. Like, I could listen to that story in 1 million permutations and never get bored of it because it's just the most lovely story. It's a story of people feeling alone and then not feeling alone anymore. Like what more beautiful than that story? And what's more human than that story? But the day-to-day staying connected, like, it's not as exciting necessarily. I mean, see, I think I'm different. I'm wired strange if you haven't figured that out. But I think maintaining love is beautiful in the way that I think a building that's been here for 1,000 years and is still standing is beautiful. In the way that a recipe written in a grandmother's handwriting stuffed into a book somewhere is beautiful. Like there's a particular kind of beautiful that I think maintaining relationships is. It's about respecting where this stands in the place of time. And it's about connecting the present to the past in a way that I think is really lovely. But is it as intoxicating and as much of a rush? No. But I also think some of that's a shift of focus. Like depends on how you're looking at it. Like I think if we look with intention. I think like David Foster Wallace in his, This Is Water speech, at Kenyon University, talks a lot about how if you just imagine and tell yourself different stories throughout the day, you'll see the world in very different ways. Like you have to remember, I'm not stuck in traffic. I am traffic. Like I am part of the problem for the other person just as much as they are the problem for me. Like you can imagine that the person who's in the car behind you and honking is just an asshole. Or you can think they're about to go visit a family member who's in the hospital and they're terrified and they can't wait to get there. And suddenly you have compassion for this person and a totally different way of framing it. Well, it's just as easy to tell yourself a different story, and that as a lawyer, it's full contact storytelling. I'm trying to tell a story while someone else is trying to stop me from telling that story and tell a different story. So I often think about, well, what can I do with these ingredients of the story, these factual ingredients? What different story can I tell with it where my client's the hero and the other side's maybe the villain? And I just think there's no reason why we can't do that in our relationships, all of our relationships, that we can't reframe those things. Again, it's not as exciting. Like you say to any couple, how did you guys meet? And everybody goes back to that moment and they soften a bit and, but the truth is, and by the way, it's a great technique you can use in your own relationship. Like in the middle of the day sometime, send your partner a text and say, a woman walked by and she was wearing the perfume that you used to wear when we first were dating, and I smelled it for a second and I thought I was going to fall down. Like it just brought me back. Like what a lovely thing. What a lovely thing. I was in Starbucks today and a song came on. Remember when we listened to that song and we danced to that song at blah, blah, blah's wedding? Like, why? What does that cost? Nothing. And I just made those two things up and we both smiled. Yeah. Because it's lovely. It's lovely. The thought of wanting this other person to hey, come with me for a minute. Like in the middle of all this, come with me for a minute. Let's just go back to that warm place that we occupied together. Wasn't that nice? Okay, I just wanted you to know I remember. I remember that feeling. Do you remember it? Okay, good. All right, let's go back to the other shit we got to do. Like, why not? Why not? Didn't cost anything.
Yeah, I feel like you could see the imbalance in the way that we look at these things in the focus on even the wedding in the beginning, right? So it's like we're building, and every friend that I have, it's the same story. We're building, big proposal or something like that, and then we're going to plan a wedding, have this giant celebration for in 12 months, and it's kind of like the capstone.
Yeah.
And so what do you think the obsession with the wedding is too?
Well, I think that there's really, for me, two explanations for weddings, and they're conflicting, but I think they're both true. One is I believe that there is the wedding industrial complex. Like I genuinely believe that this is just late capitalism. Like we're just jamming down everybody's throats this extravaganza of consumer spending that occupies the better part of 2 years for most people and involves multiple spending streams. So it's just, it has economic value. Like it's such an interesting coincidence that almost everything we value in a capitalist society has some spending attached to it. Like what an odd coincidence that is. Like what an odd thing that every truism that's out there involves everyone working as much as possible. And everyone contributing, that the highest value is something that requires a tremendous amount of capital expenditure. If it's a coincidence, it's a really strange one because it's so goddamn consistent. But I also think that there is some part of us that's very, very performative. And again, this is still in that negative, connotation. I think there's something very performative about this. There's very now we're doing it for the Instagram. We're doing it for the performative thing. And there's a competitive aspect to it. Well, they did this, so we should do this. And okay. Then I think there's a genuinely lovely concept of what a wedding is. I mean, it's a public declaration of, I found my person. Let's celebrate. Like, I love that. Like, if the first time everybody you love is in a room celebrating you is your funeral, you're a fucking idiot. Like, for a lot of people, that's the first time that everybody's in a room celebrating them. Like, there's something beautiful about standing around with a whole bunch of people who, from different aspects of your life, work, family, generations, and saying, hey, I found my person. Isn't this great? 8 billion people. I found one. And I get crazy. I'm her person somehow, too. Like, crazy as that, And we're going to wear rings. And that's going to remind us and other people that we found our person. Like, this is lovely. This is a beautiful sentiment. And by the way, it's not just for you. It's not just a celebration of the ego. It's an opportunity to gather and celebrate together and mark a point in time. It's a punctuation mark. Oh, that's right before we got married. Oh, that's right after we got married. It's one of those things in life that happens that's a punctuation mark, and that's beautiful. Like, my mom's been dead for 10 years. I look at photos of my wedding from, 25, 30 years ago. It ended in divorce, but I still have beautiful photos of my mother with her hair before she lost it to chemotherapy. And it's the best pictures I have of my mom. She's young, she's smiling. I have video that I can watch of her doing the stupid chicken dance. And it was there for her. It was there for her and for me to experience her in that moment, all together in a room, smiling, part of something intergenerational that, by the way, you're going to lose. Like, she's gone. I'll never see that again, but I had that moment. I had that moment of her doing that stupid chicken dance, and I'll remember it forever. Yeah. And if I happen to have had a very lovely marriage that produced 2 wonderful children and an ex-wife I still consider a dear friend. But the truth is, even if it had just been a horrific implosion and a terrible marriage it still produced that moment. That was a beautiful moment. In that moment, I want to remember that moment. So I think that there is a positive reason to emphasize the ceremony and symbol of weddings. I don't think it's a coincidence that the wedding feast at Cana was, Jesus' first miracle. I think the idea was to say that God gives tremendous value to the connection of 2 people, But I think it also is just, it has become for some people this very ego-driven, competitive, almost like, it's just it's too much. We lost the plot of what it was supposed to be. And I don't think we have to. Again, we have control over these things.
I love that. How nuanced what you're saying is, because I think it is true. I mean, the celebration aspect of it is, you remember those moments forever.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting that, and I caught onto this from your Instagram, but there's studies when you look at it, and the more expensive a wedding is, the higher the divorce rate.
Yeah.
And to your point about the actual celebration, I think that same study or alternative studies found that the more people or something like that, the more people that are actually in the wedding,
participating,
that actually know you, those marriages tend to have less of a divorce rate. And so I think numbers are fascinating because I feel like every study is, especially when it's repeatable, is sort of telling a story about something. What do you feel like that is telling a story about, that expensive weddings have higher divorce rates?
Yeah, my anecdotal, interpretation of that from where I'm sitting, which again is the seat of a divorce lawyer. So I see the ones that catastrophically failed. But the pattern that I see is the more that the wedding was about this performative sense of this is what you do because that's what you do. Like default rather than design, and I don't mean like designing the wedding. Like that's just a surrogate activity. It's like a thing to what cards should be on the table. Like that's not the point. The point is that we have to do this thing. Why? Why? Why do we have to do this thing? If you say, I want to do this thing, I want to get together with everybody I love and everyone you love and celebrate our joining together. That's a totally different intention than if you're no, we have to do this now. Just why are you getting married? Again, what is the problem to which marriage is a solution? It's still considered indelicate if someone says, I'm getting married, and I say, oh, really, why? Why? It's a perfectly legitimate question. You're talking about something that catastrophically fails 50% of the time and causes tremendous pain for the people when it fails. So what's wrong with me saying, why are you getting married?
Yeah, people get offended.
Oh my God, they get wildly offended. And if anything, explaining why you are getting married never happens. But explaining why you've chosen not to marry, you have to have an explanation. We're not getting married. Why? Really? Are you afraid of intimacy? Do you have attachment issues? As opposed to saying, I'm sorry, why is the burden of proof on me? It fails catastrophically roughly 50% of the time, and then another 10 to 20% of people who engage in this technology who don't end catastrophically say that they are unhappy that they made the decision. Now we're talking about something that fails 70% of the time, and it's on me to explain why I don't want to do it? Math. That's why. Math. That's good enough. Why don't you explain to me why you should do it? What value add does it have? We got to have a party. You can have a party anyway. We got to wear a white dress. Go buy a white. You can buy a cake, by the way. You can just go buy a cake. You don't have to have even an excuse. I think adulthood for me began when I went, oh shit, I can just go buy a birthday cake. It didn't even have to be my birthday. They don't check IDs. Just go to a bakery and buy a birthday cake and sit home and eat it in front of the TV. You're allowed. It's totally legal. So what? We want to have sex. You can have sex and not be married. We figured this out a long time ago. There's so many things here. Why are you getting married is a perfectly legitimate question. I don't think there's anything obscene about it. And by the way, why wouldn't you be prepared to answer it? Most people should be prepared to answer it. And by the way, there's plenty of good reasons. Tax benefit. It's important to my parents. I'm religious. Whatever. There's probably a rational answer for most people. But a lot of people, the answer would be, well, because that's what you do. It's the next thing.
I think what's interesting about asking that question is that when you do ask it, there's probably going to be a lot of reasons, if you really think about it, that come up that are really not great.
They're bullshit. They're the bullshit reasons.
to get married.
Yeah.
They're
actually quite opposite. Oh, well, we have great sex and I really want to continue to have great sex. Do you think being married is going to enhance your sex life? Or do you think it might actually create conditions where you'd be prone to monotony and then monogamy will become monotony and you're going to find yourself in a, because the evidence seems to suggest, so.
Or I'm 35 and they're sitting there. So
yeah, they're there. They got a pulse. Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot. look, a lot of the reasons why, I mean, I've learned that as a lawyer, that a lot of the reasons why people say they do the things they do don't stand up to scrutiny. Like, cross-examination is a wonderful art form, and you should engage it in your own life and with yourself whenever possible.
That is such a good point. I mean, I think I was saying this the other day to someone, but when you do surveys and stuff, depending on what the survey is about, some people will say something in the survey, but then you always have to track their behavior.
Right.
And so it's like what their actual behavior is telling a truth.
Totally different. That's why I think that all of these like survey-derived studies are absolutely hilarious, because who we think we are and who we actually are is so different. And I live in the world of reality because I live in the facts of cross-examination and things that have to be scrutinized. So like I tend to think it's quite hilarious that we think we know, that these surveys tell us anything. I think the most dangerous lies are the ones we tell ourselves. Why do we? Because we don't always look at it. And when we look at it, we don't always look at it honestly. And then when we look at it and we look at it honestly, we don't always say it out loud to another person. And there's always plausible alternate theories as to why you're doing something. And I just think we would do ourselves a greater service to ideally be honest with ourselves, and then potentially also be honest with another person, or even better, with people in general. Like, let's just say stuff out loud. Like, if I can explain the popularity of my work and the fact that people from every end of the political spectrum, people from every ideology come up to me and go, "Oh, I really like your work," the main thing people say is, "You're just so blunt. You're just so like blunt about this stuff." And how is that a superpower? Like, that should be our default mode to some degree. Being able to just speak honestly about, "This is weird, isn't it? Are you like terrified? I know I am." Why not? Why can't we just do that? I think that there's something so freeing about giving ourselves permission to do that and giving the other person permission to do that. I think it might be the path out of this chaos we find ourselves in.
I feel like a blunt reality about this whole equation is it seems, especially probably more so for men, there's like a conquering type mentality. And so, 2 months ago here in New York, the Knicks won the championship.
I'm familiar. I live a few blocks from MSG.
Yeah, first time in 53 years. But in many ways, the initiation of a relationship, the consummation of a relationship, and then getting married feels like that in a sense of like the ring happens, the wedding happens, and then the effort goes down the toilet.
Sure.
And so what do you think of that?
I just think it's not our line of sight anymore. I think we become what we behold. I mean, there's a reason why as humans, for as long as there's recorded history, we've lived in a world of symbols. Why do we hang a cross or a mezuzah? Or, why do we get tattoos? Why do I wear this? Like, I could have the same conversation with you in jeans and a t-shirt. I could do my job as a lawyer in jeans and shorts in the summer. It's hot out. Like, why do I have to wear this? Well, there's a symbol. It's a symbol that says I take this seriously. That I have a level of respect for the activity that I'm engaging in. Like, it's a symbol, that's all. It's a symbol of our desire to take something seriously, or desire to signal to the other. What's a cross? It's a symbol to remind me every day that, oh, there's something bigger. There's something more important. Why does a Jewish friend of mine wear a kippah, a yarmulke? To remind them that there's something above them. To remind that, like, this is a symbol, and symbols are powerful. That's why cave people used them. Like, it's part of our humanity. Okay, well, the wedding is a symbol. And when you're thinking about that symbol, it's in your line of sight. By the way, like the Knicks' final game of the championship, it's the exact same game as they played the first game of the preseason. Get the ball in the hoop and then stop them from getting the ball in the other hoop. It's the same game. The stakes have changed a little, but the rules are the same. The way you play is the same. But there's an intention, right? Those final games, there was this intention, this hunger of, oh my God, it's all on the line. All like, this is it. Like, this is it. We're going to do it in 5. Like, this is the get. Okay. Like, so your connection to this person on the day you marry them is, in theory, the same 10 years later. Like, this is my person. This is my favorite person, and I'm their favorite person. And my goal at the end of our lives, which is coming, is that they will look at me and say, you helped me become the most authentic version of myself, and you're still my favorite person. That's the goal. That's it. It's the goal. Every marriage, theoretically, that should be the goal. If it's not the goal, you're doing it wrong. The goal should be helping this person become the most authentic version of themselves possible. They help you become the most authentic version of yourself possible. Again, whether that's for your own individual self-benefit, for the benefit of the other as a form of service, or to glorify God, whatever your faith, whatever your belief, this is the goal. We should all share it. Republican, liberal, anybody. We all share this. And ideally, that this is a pleasure, that you're my favorite person. You're flawed, imperfect, just like me, but you're my favorite person. And if you can maintain that with symbols, right? And again, what is a wedding? A wedding is the NBA Finals, to use your metaphor. We're paying lots of attention right now. Okay, but that first game's just as important. Could you imagine a team bringing the intensity that the Knicks brought in the final 3 games to the first games of the preseason? They'd be unstoppable. Now, again, the question is, would you run out of steam? Would you burn out? I think if you tried to bring the intensity of the early days of a relationship to the 20th year of a relationship, that might be very heavy to carry, right? But do we have to treat dandruff with decapitation? Like, does it have to be, well, we can't be everything, so let's not be anything anymore? Like, you don't have to put on a full face of makeup and Spanx and everything else like you did on a first date, on the 500th date. I've seen you now. I've seen you with the flu. I've seen you just out of the shower with no makeup. Like I've said, we've seen each other now at not our best. You don't have to do the whole thing. It's nice sometimes to do the whole thing, but you don't have to do the whole thing. But you could do a little something. Do a little something. Like, your partner likes this or that. You could do a little of that. Why not? Why wouldn't you? Well, I don't owe them it. You're right, you don't. You don't have to be married either. You don't have to be in a relationship either. But you've chosen to be. So why not those little symbols? Because, by the way, it's not just a reminder to you of this connection. It's a signal to your partner of, hey, I know you like this. And I like that you like me. And that's a lovely thing, isn't it?
What do you think that marriage can give people in a positive sense that they could never get on their own?
Well, I don't think I can learn everything I need to know about myself from myself. I can't see my blind spots. That's why they're blind spots. I need someone to help me see them. I also think that everything in life comes down to our desire for connection. I think we are literally connected to another human being for 9 months. And then we're sort of expelled into this world, half formed. And we would die if it wasn't for someone picking us up and taking care of us and helping fill us in on all the stuff we need to know in order to navigate. Like that's reality. That's biology. It doesn't matter what country you're born in or what circumstance. Like, that's everyone's reality. So it's not surprising to me that we then want to find and maintain connection with another person. Like, we're born of connection. We're born as a result of physical connection, sex. We come out of the body of another person, and we then spend time trying to reconnect. And by the way, what's some of our warmest memories and feelings? The feeling of physical connection to another person. It's one of the reasons why I said Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is like great for men. I call it struggle cuddles. Because like you're touching another person, like you're deeply physically connected to another person in a non-sexual way, but it's still touch. It's still connection. Like, and there's something really beautiful about that feeling as a human. Like, we want that, not just as a human, dogs, cats, everybody wants that feeling. So I think that's kind of the secret. That's the thing that we're all looking for again, is that connection. I don't think it's surprising that we want and we need and we crave that connection.
Are there commonalities that you notice when someone's in your office, something that comes up over and over again, that you could trace back to the origin of a relationship, or like key reasons or themes of like, this was sort of doomed from the start because they entered this because of this reason?
Yeah, I think from a technique standpoint, yes. I think Practice doesn't make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. Like we learn that in jiu-jitsu all the time. Like if you train a technique incorrectly over and over, you will develop muscle memory on how to do something wrong, which isn't good. Then you have to unlearn the muscle memory and learn how to do it properly, and you're worse off. So I think people very often early in relationship, for good reasons, or I won't say good reasons, for understandable reasons, with no nefarious intention, develop habits that in the long term are going to be bad for them. Like, I don't want to disappoint this person at all. So I'm going to tell them things that aren't necessarily true, because an uncomfortable truth is worse for me than a comfortable lie. Like their mild discomfort is so uncomfortable for me that I'm going to get in the habit of not being honest with them about what I'm feeling. And I think that's a perfectly understandable and even born of love habit, but it's a bad habit. Don't get good at it, because it will metastasize. And there will be a straight line, a long line, but a straight line from that people-pleasing, good-intentioned thing and cheating on your partner. Like no one gets up and says, I think I'm going to fuck my whole life up today. I think I'm going to go out and I'm just going to ruin my relationship and ruin my partner's trust in partners for the rest of their life. And I'm also going to take this other person and just screw up their whole gig in terms of where they fit into relationship. And I'm just going to give everybody in this scenario and myself trust and abandonment issues for the next foreseeable future. Let's do it. Like nobody does that. Everybody just is like, oh, come on. Like, what's the big deal? Like, it's just a little, like, we're flirting. What's the big deal? You're flirting. It's like a little, come on, we're human. What are you going to do? Just because you're on a diet doesn't mean you can't look at the menu. Like, we're just, we're playing. We're not doing anything. We're doing, like, come on. It was like that was no, there's a little, okay, maybe it was a little more than a little thing, but it wasn't like, it's not a whole big thing. Oh, look, it happened once. It happened once. One little, come on. Life is short. Like, it happened once. Nobody's going to even know. What are you going to do? Like, that's what happens. And all of a sudden you turn around and you're like, where did we get here? Like, when did this happen? And it's the same thing with relationship. It's the same thing. It's that you didn't wake up and go, I really want to just lose connection to my partner. No, it was just a series of, disconnections and not paying attention and just forgetting, And I just think that's a straight line. It's the longer the line, the harder it is to see it. You know what I mean? Like it's like if only you went out and ate a big meal and then your pants don't fit the next day. If only it was that short of a straight line. Like, but what it is it's a lot of little bad choices. And then one day you're like, why do my pants not fit? Because you made a lot of little bad choices when it came to your diet and exercise.
It makes me think of, obviously the past 20 years, there's definitely been a reversal in the past 5 years, but, there was this mass exodus from religion. And I think the equation of religion and the accountability of the things that you're talking about adds an interesting dynamic to this, because it could get to be authoritarian in a sense, but the checking of those little moments, I feel like there's probably more of a vigilance with that in the past.
Well, I think at its best, what any faith community brings to a life is a tangible, ritualistic reminder of something. Yep. Like the idea of church when I was growing up, I believe, was let's all gather and remind ourselves of this other thing. And also, let's share space physically, like a third space. Let's all share space together, and let's see each other in real life and see who's struggling and who isn't, and like, let's all join together in this shared experience of our basic core humanity and try to, the things we know and don't know of all that is seen and unseen, and there's something to me very lovely about that. We've lost that. We've disconnected from that in very real ways. I think that young people are starting to gravitate towards it again. And I think it's hilarious that they're gravitating towards it because one of the things I think that's hilarious about Gen Z is they just like give names for things that existed and think they invented it. It just cracks me up. It reminds me of, did you ever watch the show Futurama? No. It's by the guy who wrote The Simpsons, but there's a great episode where one of the characters is a robot and he builds a time machine and he thinks he's gone into the future, but he's actually gone into the past. And he's walking around with this idea that he's gone into the future. But in fact, he's gone like 50 years in the past. And he's walking around and he sees a phone booth. And he goes, what is that? And the guy goes, it's a phone booth. He goes, oh my God. He goes, now they have phones in booths? You don't have to carry one around? That's amazing. Like, because to him, it's like, oh, that was progress. Meanwhile, that was something we knew, like that was to be transcended. Like the idea 50 years ago of having a device in your hand that you could talk to or see another person was insane. It was something out of Star Trek. So I think we as a species like need those rituals, those symbols, those reconnections. And in a marriage, like you can do that. Like you can make up church. Like one of the things I like about my fundamentalist Christian friends, as opposed to my like dogmatic Catholic or Jewish friends who have like this really defined, we got to show up at this time and stand and say, like that's how I was raised, Roman Catholic. Like I still believe in one God, Jesus Christ, the only Son of God, God from God, light from light, true God from true God. I can do the whole thing, man. I remember the whole mass. It's in my head. I'm never going to get rid of it because I was an acolyte for so long. My Christian friends were like, my fundamentalist Bible believing Christian friends. They're like, oh yeah, like the kingdom of God is everywhere around you and within you. And like everywhere is church. Like all you have to do is just invoke Christ's name and you're in church. Like you don't need that. You don't need any of that, And there's something really lovely about that idea as applied to relationship. Like why do you need to wait for someone's birthday to do something nice to them? Why do you have to wait for the anniversary to do so? By waiting for the anniversary or Valentine's Day to do something nice for your romantic partner, you are ceding control of your relationship to the Gregorian monks who created the calendar. Why? Why would you cede that control? If you want to change your life, why do you have to wait till January 1st to make a resolution? Why don't you just change it on a Tuesday? Like you don't have to. Like that's what's a beautiful thing about symbols. They're really important because they remind us of a thing. But don't confuse the finger pointing at the moon for the moon. Like it's a symbol, and the symbol's there to remind you of a thing that's worth remembering.
What I find interesting is so when a marriage starts falling apart, both parties don't seem to respond to it the same way. And so women initiate 69% of divorces.
Yes.
What story is that statistic telling?
It depends on who you ask. If you ask the manosphere, for lack of a better term, if I ask, Rolla Tomasi or Mike Sartain or any of the Tates, they will say that it has to do with women going to the casino of marriage, building up a big pot, and cashing out and saying, hey, listen, I got my financial entitlements. I hung in long enough that the law now protects my interests, my economic interests. Because what is legal marriage? It's an exchange of legal rights and obligations. That's all it is. It's got nothing to do with love. It's an exchange of legal rights and obligations. From a divorce lawyer's point of view, that's all marriage is. Like legally, we're agreeing to a certain rule set of rights and obligations. That's all there is. That's all it is. And divorce is just applying the facts of this coupling to those rights and obligations as they stand in the law at that moment. That's all it is, period.
I could see that for the minority. It seems like a weird thing for the majority, though.
That is their point of view. Now, again, facts all come with points of view. They're looking at it and saying, well, they're just cashing out because why? What is it about the contract of marriage? In many traditional heterosexual couples, okay, I'm not going to say all, but many, the man brings protection, providing economic resources. That's what the man brings, right? The woman brings what? Softness, kindness, sex. Okay. Those three promises, softness, kindness, sex, are not enforceable at law. The court cannot make you have sex with your spouse. It cannot make you be nice to your spouse. Okay? It can't do any of those things. But it can make you pay their mortgage. It can make you pay child support or spousal support, alimony, to make up for their diminished lifetime earning capacity because they made choices during the marriage to their economic detriment long term. So on the female side, again, traditionally female side, the promises are enforceable at law. And on the male side, they're not. So to the manosphere or to someone who's approaching it from a androcentric perspective like that, they are going to say, that is proof of women cashing out at the casino. The counterpoint to that you'll hear from, again, a gynocentric perspective or I think, informed perspective, is that women very often carry more of what we call the mental load or the responsibility load within the context of a marriage. And it is much more common, statistically, for a man to leave a marriage than a woman to leave a marriage. So the likelihood, if I tell you there's a couple and one of them went out for milk and never came back, it's a man, okay? Statistically, it's going to be a man. That's not to say there aren't exceptions. There are. But generally, it's going to be a man. He's going to go out for milk and never come back. Now, here's the problem. He goes out for milk, doesn't come back, and stops paying the mortgage. She comes into my office or one like it and says, I've got 2 kids at home. He stopped paying the mortgage. He's not coming back. What do I do? And I say, we get you an award of temporary spousal support and an order that directs he has to continue to pay the mortgage. We have to file a divorce action to do that.
Yeah.
But I don't want a divorce. Okay, but you're in one. Like, he left. We can't make him come back. So we have to file for divorce to get a judge assigned so we can get you support, so we can get an order of exclusive possession and occupancy of the marital residence, so we can get you temporary custody of the kids. We have to file an action to do that. So the school of thought that might also argue that, yeah, women just have to do more of the organizational aspect of this, that it's easier for a man to walk out of a situation than it is for a woman. So again, are either of them completely wrong? No. The truth is a little more nuanced and situation specific, but the number is the number. There's no arguing with the number. Like, that is the percentage. They're mostly filed by women. My personal experience of this, having been a divorce lawyer for 27 years now and having represented thousands of men and women, I don't find that there are like nefarious women. There are some, but they're the minority, that they're out there like cashing in the chips. And that I would be the one fighting for them. Like, they would hire me. Like, I would be the one fighting against them. Like, I've been on both sides of every single possible argument you can make in the dissolution of a marriage.
It seems very illogical because if you think about how many people are at a certain net worth, right? And so, like, how many women are meeting? The average man isn't worth like millions of dollars.
Well, but it doesn't. In defense of the theory, it doesn't have to be that. It can be. Listen. What does this guy bring to this? He's unpleasant. His feet smell. He sits around all day doing hardly anything. And what does he bring to this relay? He used to be nice to me, tell me how pretty I was, help take care of the kids, all these things. He doesn't do any of that anymore. And he just sits there. And what do I get from it? He pays the mortgage. Okay, guess what? I can have him pay the mortgage and he didn't have to be here anymore and make my life miserable and the kids miserable. I'll take it a step further. He could be violent and abusive. He'd have substance use issues. He'd be cruel or cold, right? And then you go, why would I keep you here? It's not, I want to cash out and get all this money. It's that, what value do you bring to this equation other than an economic value that the system protects anyway? So I can have the money without having you here making my life unhappy.
So do the courts protect women, or is that a myth?
Courts protect women. Courts protect men too. I think the courts...
Like, more so, like if 2 people are going to get divorced, it's more likely than not a woman is going to get a favorable outcome, or is that a myth?
There is some truth to that, but not for the reductionist reasons that people try to cite it. The majority of primary caretakers of children are still women, and there are certain economic benefits that flow from being the present caregiver, primary caregiver to children. Child support usually flows in the direction of the individual who has the children. Very often, possession of the former marital residence flows in the direction of the person who primarily has the children. Like, the children are the ball to some degree. And so that's why contentious custody proceedings often happen, is because people, they claim they're fighting over the kids, but what they're fighting over is the economic value that having primary custody of children brings. So, and again, it's very easy to tell the plausible alternate theories. I argue both all the time. You know, he wants custody so he doesn't have to pay child support. No, he wants custody because he wants to be involved in the lives of his children. And he doesn't want to be a second-class citizen as a parent. And why does she get a veto over what the children are doing in terms of major decisions because they came out of her body. I understand that like under your skin is under your sovereignty, but they've been out of the womb for a while now. And these people both have unique gifts to bring to the child. So again, I've made both arguments, and they've both been true sometimes, and sometimes have been smoke and mirrors that I throw up for the purposes of representing a person who doesn't necessarily deserve the outcome. Like the truth has a way of coming out, though, sometimes despite my best efforts. But that is a fundamental truth, is that there are two ways of viewing almost any of those circumstances.
Now, when someone's in your office, are there commonalities that you notice over and over and over again of what typically a man is complaining about and what typically a woman is complaining about?
Yes.
Or is that too reductionistic?
No, that's common. Yeah, I see that all the time. Men are complaining about being sexually neglected, that their spouse is no longer kind to them or sweet to them, or treats them with any like respect or treats them with any affection. Is no longer like just thinks they're an idiot and treats them like an idiot. That's a very common refrain, that she has no respect for how difficult it is for him to make money, and the manner in which she is spending it suggests that she has no respect for how hard he's worked to create it. A lack of gratitude for his role is very common. I think that's increasingly common in the modern zeitgeist because I think women are just so gassed up online. And there's so much pandering to women now by men and women online trying to do the like, sister, you're the greatest. Don't you dare apologize. Like just every woman is just gassed up all day at how wonderful they are because they're just getting a sea of affirmation from social media. Because again, for many years, I think women were very much not given affirmation for really things that probably deserved affirmation. I think we always overcorrect. We treat danger with decapitation. It's our favorite thing as a society. So I get it. But now people are just coming in like, I actually heard someone say the other day, like, oh, well, like, what, men are supposed to get like a thank you for going to work? They'd be going to work anyway. They'd like have to pay bills anyway if you weren't married to them. Like that's something they would be doing anyway. They have to pay a mortgage anyway. They'd have to have, and I kind of thought, well, so then if you like make dinner, like, well, you have to eat anyway. So why should I thank you for that? Like you'd have to do that anyway. Like that's such a bizarre way of approaching the transaction or economy that is a relationship. But men very commonly come in and say that they feel like they just, whatever they do, they're doing it wrong and that there's no value anymore. They have no value anymore. Women, increasingly so, come in with a sense that, yeah, this person, I don't even think they like me anymore. If they even notice me, it's with disdain. I can't get anything right. If I sleep with them, I'm not sleeping with them right. If I cook, I'm not cooking right. If I spend, I'm spending too much. Like if I don't spend, I don't know how to live and I'm not having a good time. If I tell them what to do, I'm mommying them. If I don't tell them what to do, they're not a mind reader. Like what? I can't win here.
Well, it does seem like, at least from my understanding of divorce, like money and sex, two big topics that come up. How do you see money manifest in these divorce proceedings as a topic of conversation? And do men and women relate to it differently?
I mean, less differently than they used to. I think when I started practicing, almost 30 years ago, the number of women in the workforce and the number of women graduating from college was lower than what it is. The number of men graduating from college was higher than it is. That's gone down in the last 20 years in significant ways. So I think that we're in slightly different economic circumstances than we used to be. So the application of rules to the genders in a heterosexual marriage has definitely changed. Like, tell a woman she has to pay alimony, and you'll see a Bella Abzug feminist suddenly go, "Wait a minute, whoa, what? I got to pay him alimony? He's a man." Like, they will go from saying gender is a spectrum and it's really an illusion, and it's not a binary. They'll then go, whoa, he's a man. He's got a strong back. He can go get a job. What are you talking about? I'm a woman. I'm not going to pay alimony. That's insane. Like, I've seen it many times. Like, so. But it's an economic reality. Like there's a number of women that, now out-earn their spouses. And, it's happening a lot right now, actually, because with the progression of AI, there were a lot of clients we represented in the New York area who worked for these big software companies. And they were coders and they were software engineers, and they have now been replaced by agents, AI agents. And they were married to a woman who made a couple $100,000 a year, and they made close to $1 million a year between stock options and everything else. And now they are all out of a job. And they're all competing for the same, much smaller set of jobs that are also becoming obsolete with every iteration of Claude. So that's putting strain on relationships. That's putting a lot of strain on relationships. And it's creating an economic imbalance that, again, was always at play, but the gender aspect of it was different. Because the number of men in STEM is still much higher than the number of women. So now that those jobs are changing, well, now we're seeing a shift. So again, like, this stuff is gendered. Is it rooted in gender? No, but it's gendered in its outcome. So I think the legal system is tied to the economics of a relationship, and the relationship's economics are changing as social norms change.
Now, it seems like this can get really ugly. There's a client that you had, or story. So you had a settlement involving roughly 10 million breakdown over a toaster
oven. It wasn't just toaster, it was toaster oven.
Toaster oven.
It was a Breville toaster oven specifically. $48 on Amazon.
So tell me about that story.
We were, very often when you are about to go to trial and you've done all your pretrial posturing and everyone's prepared their trial notebooks, their pretrial memorandum of law, their statement of proposed disposition, all of their exhibit lists and witness lists, all the posturing you do, like all the look at all my weapons. I've got all my weapons and I'm about to unlaunch them at you. And the court will tend to go, why don't you guys all go back to this one's office or that one's office for the next 2 hours and see if you can finalize this, see if you can get it done. I'll give you some suggestions. If you can prove this, I think it'll be this. If you can do that, I think it'll be this. Go and see if you can make this happen. Otherwise, we're going to come back, call your first witness. And everybody starts to go, okay, let's have a conversation. So this was a high net worth couple. I think it was like $20 million total settlement. It was a $20 million marital estate, so it would have been $10 million each. But the question was, in a divorce, when it comes to division of assets, it's identification of assets, valuation of assets, and then division of assets. And most people wouldn't do the simple thing, which is let's sell everything we own and then just divide the money. They'll say, well, I'm going to keep this house and you keep the beach house, or I'm going to keep the house and you keep your 401k. Okay, and I'm going to, like, it's horse trading. And we try to do it in a way that's tax beneficial. We try to do it in a way that makes sense. That's what good lawyers do. We try to find compromises that make sense for people. And in this situation, we had resolved pretty much everything. We had custody, parenting access resolved, spousal support, child support, all these things were done. And we got down to personal property. And I tend to prefer not to get into personal property because it becomes emotionally charged for people. Like, why do you need the juicer? You never use the juicer. Like, it turns into like a whole thing about the history of this marriage. And it's not worth it. Like, buy new forks. You're right. You're entitled to half the forks. There's 20 forks. You're entitled to 10 of the forks. Like, go buy some fucking forks. Like, why are you going to pay me $1,000 an hour to argue over forks? Like, that's crazy. But people will do it if you let them because they want to be right and they want to win. And you're not taking my fork. It's not that I want the forks. You're not taking those forks. Those are my forks. So it's not about the forks. It's not about the pasta. It's about the thing that's underneath it. It's about respect. It's about whatever. It's about winning and losing and all those ego things. But what happened in this situation is there was a toaster oven. And first of all, I said, let's not do this. Let's say that within 30 days, they're going to submit a list of personal property. If they can't agree, they'll work with an arbitrator and we'll do this traditional, like, little kid thing of they'll each agree on a list of all the personal property. And then we'll flip a coin and you each get to pick one at a time till we go through both of your lists. And we each get to pick an item. So if you want the TV that bad, make it number 1 on your list. If you make it number 2, he might choose it in his first pick. But that's how we're going to do it. We're going to do, like, it's a fair way of doing personal property if you really want to do it. But don't pay us 2 lawyers $1,000 an hour, $2,000 an hour, 6 minutes, $200 in that. That's silly. Why? Why would you do that? So we say, just agree. And if you can't agree, you'll go to an arbitrator for $300 an hour and they'll do that with you. They'll do that little picking process like you were little kindergartners. The other lawyer in this case, for whatever reason, was like, no, let's just get it all done. Let's just do the personal property. And I thought it was a bad idea. And sure enough, it was a bad idea. It devolved into Well, why are you taking that? Well, that was my mother's. Well, your mother gave it to me. No, she didn't give it to you. She gave it to us. But you don't even use it. Well, no. Well, our daughter uses it. Well, she can use it at my house then. Well, then I'm going to have to get another. And it turned into a whole thing. And the toaster oven was the final straw because he used the toaster oven and she didn't. But she was like, right, but it sits at a particular spot in the kitchen in the house that I'm keeping. So let me just keep it. And it devolved into this argument about, and it was like, well, you know what, you're getting this. Maybe you shouldn't be getting that. And maybe we just, no, maybe we don't have a deal on any of it. And I'm standing there going, guys, I'm on Amazon Prime right now. It's $48. It'll be here tomorrow morning. I'll buy everyone in this room this toaster oven. I'll buy 5 just to be safe. Who'll have a backup one. I'll keep it in my conference room. Could we just get to the rest of this deal? And we did ultimately get there. But I get what happened there. It wasn't about the toaster oven. It's about respect. It's about the final straw. But I have to spend a lot of time talking to people about that. I've had people blow up custody deals and go into custody litigation over 3-hour dinner visits every other week. Like on a Wednesday, he wants to see well, why? Why does he have to do that? Why can't it be 2 hours? Well, why didn't he have him back at this time? And you're sitting there going like, really, guys? This is what we're going to argue over.
It's just so sad. I mean, that's literally my reaction of we started early in the conversation, we were talking about falling in love and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, yeah. This must be up there with one of the, I don't know, getting a certain disease or something. I just one of the worst aspects of the human experience.
It's one of the most traumatic experiences a person can go through getting divorced. It's particularly a contentious, ugly divorce. And it's what makes it even harder is it started in the opposite place. You're absolutely right. I have some clients in brutal litigation. That's why they hired me, because I'm very good in a courtroom. You don't need me if you're doing a simple uncontested divorce. You need me if you're going through it. You need me. And I have to tell you, I used to say that, you remember when you were a kid and you had a fantasy about if I could be invisible? What would I do if I could be invisible? The answer was always I'd go in the girls' locker room, but it was what would you do with the power of invisibility? Would you go in a bank and rob it? I find myself thinking, if I had the power of invisibility, I have 2 or 3 clients that I would go into their house and find their wedding album. I know it's somewhere. It must be in the attic, just because I want to see what it looked like. I can't imagine these people liking each other. They hate each other with a ferocity that sees for miles. I've never hated anyone or anything with that level of intensity. And that's how angry they are at each other. And it's shocking. It's shocking to be part of. Part of my job is figuring out how to talk to that in a person and let them feel it, but also refocus them.
It's just the insanity. It's the insanity of a $48 toaster oven, but
it's not just a toaster oven. It's the.
No, I know that.
It's what it means.
It's the resentment. It's the anger. It's all the things that didn't happen. It's
at long last, have you no decency?
Yeah.
Can't I have my toaster oven? You've taken my children fully 1/2 of the time. You're taking the house we bought. Can I just have a toaster oven? How cruel are you that you would take you don't use it. Can't I just have my toaster oven? It means something to me. It doesn't mean anything to you other than winning. Why? Just let me have my toaster. Let me have my dignity. And to me, I get that.
I mean, you're holding the resentment, you're holding the anger, but then in a sense, it also feels like self-sabotage.
It is.
Because your nervous system is holding that load, your stress,
And do you think those people don't? But again, what did we say earlier? You feel how you feel. I think those people wish they could put it down. They want to put it down. I try to get my clients into therapy as soon as possible after they hire me, because, you got some of that stuff. But I don't fault humans for being human. Yeah. And I get it, man. I get both sides of that argument. And I advocate both sides of that argument pretty frequently. But I get both sides of that argument. Emotionally, I get it. You're both right. You're both right. Leave the kitchen the way it is. It's not going to be as disconcerting to the children. Like, what? It's a fucking toaster. Buy a new one, for God's sakes. This one's an old one anyway. Why wouldn't you rather have a new one? But I also get what I just said about, listen, this is mine. Let me have it, for God's sakes. Like, I get, it's so human. I get it. Like, it's why I love my job. Because this is the opera of humanity, like our core humanity. Like, every day I get to go in and just wrestle with that. Both sides of it.
Now, obviously, this process is incredibly painful. So if that's the case, why do 86% of your clients remarry within 5 years after they just went through this?
Yeah, isn't that crazy? I mean, they just went through a catastrophic failure of something that caused tremendous economic and emotional harm on all, even in the best of circumstances. And they do it again. 86% within 5 years. That's crazy. But it's also beautiful. I think it's the triumph of faith over reason. I think there's something in us that wants this more than anything. There's something in us that just wants this. I don't think, for all their talk, I don't think the Andrew Tates of the world really care that much about supercars. They want the cars so they can attract the eye of women. And I don't think it's just that they want the friction that sex represents. I think they want connection. It's misguided, the way that they're trying to find it and get it. But they want the same, we all want the same things. I really believe we all just want the same things. I think the 86% of people who remarry within 5 years of divorce, I think it's a prayer. I think it's a frightened, fervent prayer. I think it's us saying, please let this be true. Please let love be true. Please let me be worthy of love. Please let me find someone to love. Like, please, like, let me not be alone in this. Like, please, like, I love that about it. Like, that to me is such a beautiful human thing to say, I failed at this, or we failed at this. It broke. But I'm not going to let that break my faith in the possibility that I'll find it with someone. And I think that that's what marriage is. Marriage is a way of trying to build a moat around something that's not moatable. Like, I'm going to build walls to protect this thing and keep it safe, and it won't.
When someone decides to get married again, what have they usually concluded was the real problem of the first marriage?
I think most of the time they just haven't post-gamed it at all. Like, it's
really?
Yeah, I think a lot of the time they just go, that person was a piece of shit, or that person wasn't trustworthy, or that person had a different the new one is my different attachment style than me. 6 months ago, it was that the other person was a malignant narcissist and they love bombed me and gaslighted me. Like, whatever the popular cadence of the zeitgeist of TikTok is at the particular moment, that's generally what people are going to say. It's something core thing. It's something that's not their fault. It's something that happened to them. Their divorce happened to them. They weren't in it. They were a passenger in that vehicle. And the other person, you'll be surprised, Matthew, to learn that when people tell you the story of their life, they're usually the hero of the story. I know, because people have to come in and tell me the story of their marriage. And it's shocking how frequently they're the hero of that story. And the other side is either the villain or is not as much of a hero as they were. Now, again, very human, I understand. But most people, after they divorce, they don't really do the hard work of going, okay, what happened here? Like, where's my part of it?
Well, why?
Because it's just the simple explanation's easier. Why did we get divorced? Because he was sleeping with his secretary. Not, why was he sleeping with his secretary? Because he's a scumbag and a narcissist. No, we disconnected and we weren't, honest with each other. Okay, why did that happen? What's my share of it? What's his share of it? Like, there are awful people. There are malignant narcissists. There are people who gaslight and love bomb and whatever other TikTok terms you want to throw at it. But the truth is, like, again, if you're telling a story and you're the hero of the story, be skeptical. Like, put your radar up on that one. Like, and stop and go, is there another version of this story where maybe I'm not the hero of the story 100% of the time? And I think a lot of people don't ever post-game that, and they just repeat the same mistakes over and over again. That's why the divorce rate for second marriages is higher than first, for third is higher than first and second, for fourth is higher than first, second, and third, and it gets catastrophically worse as time goes on.
So what is it about meeting someone new that makes them feel like this time will be different? Like, what is it about that new person that's like, oh, this is it?
Yeah, they're a potential as opposed to being a reality. Like, I think when dating, when you first meet someone and you marry someone even, it's a potential. It's, here's what I think we're going to do. Like, it's like when you start a business. Like, here's what I envision, I imagine. Like, we live our lives in imagination. Well, most of our life is spent in imagination. We're imagining the future that we're moving towards without really knowing that that's what it's going to look like, because we don't know what's going to happen. And we're remembering the past in a very subjective way. So that's an imagination of sorts too. It's more informed than our future thoughts, but it's still an imagination. So the present's the only thing that's real. So I think that when you're dating someone, it's an imagined future. And you're viewing yourself a certain way through their eyes, through their lens. And we talked about earlier today and in our prior conversations about how, in the early days of a relationship, we're interested and interesting, and how lovely and intoxicating that feeling is. But, that goes for a little while too.
It's a form of delusion, basically.
Yeah. Some people would say that love is a delusion brought on by inadequate lighting. Like that love is an economy based on human frailty. That it's an economy based on resource scarcity. Like there's a lot of ways to look at love that are arguably cynical, or you could view them as realistic,
Because I think without the introspection part or the post-analysis of a divorce, I've thought about it. So I'm like, okay, you get divorced and then you go meet another person, and then somehow everything that I was messing up in my first marriage is like suddenly not going to be an issue in my second marriage, and we're all of a sudden going to have a better dynamic when we have all the challenges of life and all the hard shit and stuff like that.
Well, I think there is a way of viewing remarriage or recoupling, even if there's not a marriage involved, in a way that would accomplish that objective. Because if you used the divorce or the breakup as an occasion to understand what you don't want and what you don't want to repeat in relationship.
Correct, yeah.
Then I think it's really useful. Or if you look at your partner, your past partner, honestly and say, here were the characteristics that they demonstrated that are not really compatible with mine, or that I don't know how to navigate in a way long-term that's good. So I need to find a partner who has different traits than that, perhaps. Or I have to learn how to adapt to that if I'm going to find it in another person, or I have to, like, in relationship, I could say, as a man, one of my great challenges in relationships with women as a heterosexual man is that I, like a lot of men, when a woman in my life, whether a romantic partner or a friend or a coworker, is telling me a problem they have, I tend to try to solve it. Partly because I'm male and we're problem solvers, or that's how we relate to each other in some ways. Like if a buddy of mine, like if I called a buddy of mine and I said like, oh man, I'm having this problem with my son. And he went, that must be really hard, Jim. I'd be like, yeah, it is, man. That's why I called you. Like, what the fuck do you think I should do? But in fact, like a lot of times, like the women in my life, whether it's my sister, my nieces, my romantic partners, they actually just want me to listen and go, oh man, that must have been really hard. Like, you didn't deserve that. That's awful. That must be really hard. Like, and they're like, thank you. Yeah, it was. It was like they feel validated. They feel heard. They feel like, now again, I'm not saying that's exclusively female or male as a trait, but I wish somebody taught me that before I was 50. That would have been useful to know. Like, it would have been useful for someone to teach me. Again, at least as useful as the quadratic formula. Like, it would have been useful. Like, I had a lot of relationships with women that I screwed up because I didn't figure that out. And I didn't know how to listen in an attentive way and respond without trying to be a problem solver. By the way, I thought I was doing the right thing. I solve problems for a living. I'm really good at it. So I was like, oh no, I'm giving her what she wants. Like, well, why would your sister say that? Well, maybe you need to say to her X, Y, and Z. And now she's like, okay, you're telling me I did it wrong. I don't mean to. I thought you came to me Because if I came to you and I told you about something, it would probably be because I need help. And if you gave me help, I would feel really grateful for that help. So like, I'm trying to give you what I think you want. Like, I'm trying to love you. Like, I'm not trying to invalidate you or make you defensive or make you feel stupid or make you regret that you told me the thing. I'm trying to get it right. I'm trying to give you what I would have wanted if I'd said the thing that you say. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I'm trying to do it right. Like, but we don't teach anybody that at all, ever. We have to learn by trial and error. So again, if you end a relationship and you use it as a learning opportunity, okay, what did I get wrong there? What could I do different there? What could I learn from this experience? What are some fundamental, because that's like a fundamental thing about communication in men and women. But I also learned some very practical lessons too, which is like, hey, if this person, like if you're a neat freak and this person is not, you're going to have a problem. If you have religious faith, or were raised with dogmatic religious faith and you've had that lived experience, being with someone who's never been part of a religious community and has never considered matters of faith of any kind, it's going to be weird. Whereas if you date someone who has like shared religious trauma, that's kind of neat. Yeah. Like you have a lot in common.
There's the thing that's coming up for me is there's such an unpredictability of this. Yes. And what I mean by that.
And by this, you mean life or you mean relationships? Because I would say both.
Well, both, yes. But for example, there's this thing in our dating culture today, I mean, even before you get to have a first marriage, of the idea of meeting someone, the right person, is someone who's compatible for you.
Soulmate.
Yes. And the reality is, like, are you the same person that you were when you were 30? Like, probably not.
God, no.
Yeah, okay. So, like...
I'm not the same person I was when I was 40.
Exactly. So, I feel like people change every 10 to 15 years.
I hope so.
And so, the question becomes, are you going into a marriage, like, willing to accept the fact that you were going to be married to a new person, like, every 10 years? And if you don't want that, then what is the point of making a legal union of I'm going to be with you forever, unless you're going to accept the reality.
Well, you're not ever going to be together forever because you're going to die.
Until you die. On Earth.
That's not forever. What I would also say is, yeah, I think you're pointing out a fundamental issue with marriage that I think is the beauty of it, but also the fundamental problem of it. Because I think there's two competing assumptions that you make that are both inaccurate. Like one is, this is so good, I want to marry this person so it'll stay the same. And it won't. It'll change.
And it might be good in the beginning. Like you might be so compatible.
Right. Yeah. And then it might change. But it's also a mistake to say it's definitely going to change. Like it might, like, oh, he drinks too much now, but if we get married, he'll stop drinking. Or, you know, she's too much of a partier, but like we get married and have kids, she'll like calm down. Like, no, she won't. Some things are going to stay exactly the same. So the mistake is both thinking things will stay the same and thinking things will change. So really what this is about pairing with another person. And again,
wisdom. This is all like wisdom. I'm trying to figure this out.
Yeah, but I think we're all, but again, man, I'm a 53-year-old man who's been in therapy for 20 plus years. I think I've got like 70% of this guy, maybe at best. Like, I'm supposed to understand another human being perfectly? Are you kidding me? I'm in here and I don't get it. I still am a mystery to myself why I do some of the things I do and feel some of the things I feel. And there's so many things about me that I'm like, why can't you not do that? Why can't you not feel that? Why can't you not think that way? Stop. It's making you miserable. Stop. I don't know how. I want to so bad, right? We all do if we're being honest. So, again, I'm not saying we hate ourselves, but there's parts of us that are still kind of a mystery. We haven't figured out how to navigate, how to fix, how to move, how to change. Okay, do you think you're going to be able to do, what chance do you have that you're going to be able to do that with another person? So what's the idea of marriage at best? At best, it's, let's just do this together. This is terrifying and beautiful. Let's do it together. The good stuff will be that much sweeter because we'll have it to share. And someone else there, like, you've ever eaten a beautiful meal by yourself And you just think like, oh my God, I wish my friend was here who loves food. Like you got to try this. Like the joy of sitting with one of your friends who loves food and you love food and you guys are eating together. The joy of sitting at a play or a concert and your friend is singing every song with it. And you're like, their joy is infectious. What was fun about the Knicks? Watching everybody, the guy on Wall Street and the guy in the bodega, all cheering at the same screen at the same time. Like shared experience is incredible. It's one of the best things about being human. So saying, let's do this, you and me, let's do this. Hold my hand. Let's do this. The good parts and the fucking terrifying parts. The people we love dying and getting sick. The animals we love aging and dying and getting sick. Like all the horrible things and all the beautiful things. Let's just hold each other's hand and do it.
Do you need marriage for that?
No, not at all. Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Because that's the thing. And I think sometimes, we're very much in the middle in the true sense. But like sometimes when maybe more conservative voices like criticize the idea of like the way we use the word marriage, I think in some ways makes sense because marriage, I guess, if you stem it, you have to separate the legal thing from like the religious spiritual thing.
100%.
But the idea of I'm committing to you for the rest of our lives while we're alive.
Right. That's not the legal conception of marriage. That is the emotional,
like spiritual
conception of marriage.
So that
you will be my person.
So I'm going to call this marriage because we are both entering into this commitment and making that, which I think is beautiful in a sense. If you are actually going to like try to honor that commitment. I don't think that means that people have been divorced as a failure at all, but I do think that that is an aspiration. That's a goal that gives us a long game.
Yeah.
But to assimilate that and then not actually like in your bones want that, and then when the person changes, okay, we're just going to get divorced. Now it's like, what's the point of calling it marriage to begin with? You could just do what you just said and not make this like lifelong commitment to this person.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
we'll see. It's
where I think you're spot on. But what I would say about the way you just said what you said is telling. Because what you're talking about is what we aspire to. Like, what is the goal? Like, I want to marry this person and I want to be with them forever. And I think marriage, when you say a divorce isn't a failure, yes, it is. It's a failure to achieve the goal. If the goal was, I want to marry this person and have them be my person forever, you've failed at that goal. That's okay. It doesn't mean you're a bad person. It doesn't mean you did something wrong.
That's the distinction. Not thinking you're a failure as a person. Like I did.
Of course. But my point more than anything is, it's a question of the goal. Because if what you're saying is, like, everybody wants to find a person and live happily ever after with that person. Like, who gets married that doesn't want to live happily ever after with this person? What I'm always interested in as a human being is not what do you want. Like, everyone wants to be economically viable or wealthy. Everyone wants to be loved. Everyone wants to be successful. Everyone wants to be in good shape. Okay, we all want that. What will you suffer for? That's what I want to know. What will you suffer for? What are you willing to suffer for? Because that's the question. Like, if I want to be in good shape, I have to be willing to suffer. I have to be willing to exercise when I don't want to. I have to be willing to not eat exactly what I feel like eating at the moment I feel like eating it because my brain is trying to tell me to eat chocolate cake because of a biological imperative that no longer exists in my environment, right? So I have to suffer a little to get the thing I want most. I have to sacrifice what I want now for what I want most. Well, it's the same thing in relationship. It's the same thing in relation. I want to have sex with lots of beautiful women all the time. That's what I want. I'm sorry. Should I apologize for that? I don't. I didn't build this machine. Like, I didn't build this machine. If there was a button that would make an erection go or disappear, I'd press it. It doesn't work that way. Like, the reality is we want the things we want, and sometimes the things we want aren't good for us and aren't good for the dynamic we've created. What will I suffer for? What do I want more? Variety of sexual partners or stability in my life? What do I want more? Variety of sexual partners or deep connection to one romantic partner or one sexual partner who we have committed to each other in a real way so we can feel really safe in that relationship, both epidemiologically and also just emotionally, that we can really say we're going to commit to each other. What are you willing to suffer for? Like, to me, I'm not interested in what you want. I want to write a book. Good, go write a book. You have to suffer to write a book. You have to isolate yourself for periods of time and focus. I just handed another one in 85,000 words to my publisher. I had to suffer. Again, horrible suffering. I welcomed it. It was amazing. It's a beautiful gift to be able to write a book and put it into the world. I'm grateful. But it's suffering. Like, what will you work for? And that's more interesting to me. Like, in love, like, what will you give up for this? What will you give up for this relationship? In what manner will you suffer? And by the way, in every great religious treatise, whether it's in the Garden of Gethsemane or whether it's, Arunya, talking to Krishna overlooking the battlefield, like, or Moses talking to a burning bush, like, whatever your religious tradition, there is a story about suffering coming. And what will you suffer for? And what is it that Jesus says in Gethsemane? Like, would that you would take this cup from my hands. Like, fuck, I don't want this. Why? You love me. Why? Why do I have to suffer? Why are you giving this to me? I don't want it. But what does he come to? What makes Jesus the hero of the story? Is that it's not my will, but yours. Like, and what is that but love? Like, what is that but real love? Real love is, there are moments I'm going to suffer for this. There are moments I don't get to do exactly what I want to do. There are moments where I won't get to experience things I might want to experience, but I'm going to trade that for the ability to find deep connection with you. And that's valuable to me because that's the purpose of this. I'm trading what I want now for what I want most. And I think that, again, that 86% statistic to me is very inspirational because it's about people saying, well, that didn't work. Let's try it again.
I think that's fantastic what you're saying about suffering. I think that applies to
most things.
But you compare that to what we're talking about earlier with the whole falling in love. You could actually, if you contrast that with an affair, right? So let's just say you feel dead in your marriage, and then this sort of shiny new object comes into your purview, who's an escape.
So fun.
So the escape of that actually, in some way, is the opposite of suffering. And so,
it's pleasure.
Everything is pleasure. Everything is great.
And everything in our culture right now, we are in the most hedonistic time ever. It's all pleasure all the time. And if you're not feeling pleasure, someone must be doing something wrong to you. You deserve pleasure all the time. You deserve pleasure. Like, pleasure is the overriding principle of this society, the avoidance of pain and the seeking of pleasure. And by the way, the studies of drugs, the reason why opiates are 10 times more popular and addictive than cocaine is that our desire to get away from pain is much bigger than our desire to find and feel pleasure. But if you can do both, if you can kill pain and give pleasure, that's the recipe. But the truth is, like, this is a very human thing to pursue, that hedonistic thing. Look, why do you think birth rates are declining? What does anybody do anymore except talk about, well, when we'll be ready to have it? When will you be ready to have a baby? You think you're going to wake up one day and go, what am I going to do with all this money? I'm so sick of being able to shower in a leisurely fashion.
Well, it's the suffering thing. Yeah, because especially in the first year, the first few years, there's so much that you're giving.
They're awful.
Yes.
Babies are awful most of the time. They're like a pet that doesn't do anything. They scream and they poop everywhere. Like, they're just awful. They have no respect for you. They have no respect for your routine. They have no respect for your space. They have no respect for any aspect of your life that's enjoyable. None whatsoever. None. They're just a ball of need that doesn't really even love you. You're shapes. You're a shape. You're not, it doesn't even really know who you are. That's a fact. I'm a father. That's a fact. But you got to just get through that part. And then they turn into this like little thing that when you walk into the crib, it sees you and it recognizes you like, oh, you're dad. And then it's like this ride you get to take. And I'm 29 years into that ride as a father. And it's the fucking greatest, man. Is it the greatest thing that's ever happened to me? No, probably not. But is it in the top 3? For sure. You know, it's amazing. It's amazing. But do you think anybody in modern culture, we're supposed to be comfortable all the time and everything's supposed to feel good all the time or as much as possible or else you're doing it wrong and it's being imposed on you by the world? You think anybody is going to go, yeah, I've got enough money, I've had enough sleep, I'm sick of being able to go out with my friends and do whatever I want. Like, marriage is inconvenient. Like, there's so many of these things that they're just temporarily uncomfortable or inconvenient. Again, what are you willing to suffer for? I tend to think we as a culture have stopped talking. All we do now is talk about how much things suck. Like, it used to be mothers of infants had to put on this, oh, it's great. No, it's great. It's so great. Oh, it's so great. Being a mother's so great. There was a book called The Mask of Motherhood. It came out in the 1970s. And it was like the first time a woman dared to write, this is kind of awful. Like, I love my kid, but I kind of also hate my kid. Like, they ruined my body temporarily. They won't let me sleep. Like, everything is so screwed up right now.
Pendulum thing again.
It's always the pendulum thing with us as a species. And again, I don't hate us for that. Like, it's just how we are. Like, it's how we are. Dogs sniff each other's butts. This is a thing we do. Okay? Like, but can't we just say, this is a thing we do as humans, so be on the lookout. Be on the lookout for it.
Yeah, I think that the key distinction with what you're saying about suffering is like maybe some people hear masochism, but I don't. No, I actually don't hear that at all. I think it's the pursuit of a greater joy. Yes, and you're going to go through really, really hard moments, and so the question is, do I want to go through really, really hard moments with this person, or I don't? Well, then nothing great is really ever achieved without some enduring. Like, I've been a lawyer for 26 years. I love it. I hated law school. I hated it. It was awful. Yeah. 3 years, misery, and then a year studying for the bar. Ugh, worst. But I had to do it to get to do a thing I've loved for 26 years. Totally worth it. But during those years, did it suck? It was terrible. It was terrible. Unpleasant. Did not enjoy it. Would not recommend. But would totally recommend. Because what was on the other side of the suffering was amazing. I'm not a masochist. I'm like any other human being. I love pleasure. It's great. That's why it's pleasure. But do I want a life that is just the pursuit of hedonistic sensory pleasure in any particular moment? I don't. I know what that life looks like. I know where it leads. So, someone gets divorced, 86% remarry within 5 years, with the hope and the inspiration of what we're talking about, that, things will be different. But what I find interesting is that, about trying again, is that the failure rate gets worse. Goes up. So let's say first marriage was the wrong person, wrong fit, you learned some things, whatever. So I think they're between 40 to 50% first rate marriage failure. Catastrophic failure of divorce. Yes. That doesn't include people who separate and never finalize a divorce. Yes. Second marriage is 60 to 67%. Yeah, it's much higher. And that does not include people who separate and never divorce. Third marriage is 73 to 74%. Same. That, honestly, even after this entire conversation, to me, like, those numbers to me should be getting way lower, not higher. Yeah, I understand why you would think that. I'm never good at anything the first time I do it. Like, I need to practice something and get it wrong before I can figure it out. Like, I learn a lot by stepping on the rake. But I think that is anecdotal, and it's an unfalsifiable premise, so I get to say it. I think that that's proof of what I said earlier, which is that a lot of times people the unexamined life is just fine. Like, they just chalk up their divorce to... So that's the reality. Yeah, I think the reality is they just don't learn anything from it, and they just get worse at it. Because now they're bringing all the same shitty tools to the relationship, and they have the permission of their own conscience to, again, make the same mistakes. But they also now have been through it before, so they're not as terrified of it because they survived it once already. And they also
have now brought all the like trust issues and hurt and animus that came from the first failed relationship to the second one. So they're going to be quicker to like anger and blame and all those other things. So I think most people get worse at it. What I will tell you is more interesting to me is the failure rate of second marriages is much higher than that of first marriages. But anecdotally, I tend to know quite a few people whose second marriages are way happier than their first marriages.
But they're outliers.
Statistically, they are outliers. But they will tell you, yeah, I learned so much from my first marriage about what not to do and what I wasn't looking for. Like, I think if you do it right, you can learn a tremendous amount from the
Which goes back
experience
to the
of
last
divorce.
point. You're talking about the introspection, all of that stuff.
It's a tremendous, the reason I went into divorce law specifically, I was a psychology major as an undergraduate, I wanted to be a therapist, was that I see divorce as an opportunity to be part of the reinvention of a person, to be part of the evolution of their humanity. Like you get to be with them in an extraordinarily vulnerable moment where they can't pretend they meant to have this happen. Like we go around most of our lives full of shit, rewriting history and saying, well, I never really intended for that to be this way. Like everything is like, again, we're the hero of the story. You can't pretend you meant to get divorced. You didn't. You just didn't. If you say, well, maybe I knew some part of me, okay, but you didn't mean to. You wouldn't have got married if you knew you were going to get divorced and you meant to get divorced. That's not how it works. So I think there's something really beautiful about that the barn's burned down and now I can see the moon. Like this idea that like, yeah, this just imploded.
There's still something that doesn't make sense. Let's say someone's working for you and they're, a junior lawyer or something like that. You fire them, right?
I do that a lot.
Okay. So to me, I'm like, it would be extremely unlikely for them to go to another law firm and be even crappier than they were at your law firm, and then get fired at law firm again, and then be even crappier at the next law firm. So it seems like,
well, I don't know that I would agree with that, because I think if they are honest with themselves about why they got, if they go, Jim's a jerk and I didn't want to work for him anyway, which is what a lot of people do because of their own ego, that would be different. But if they actually went, okay, what did I do wrong there? I showed up for work quite late. I didn't plan the way that I should have. I didn't prioritize my work in the way that I should have. I wasn't reliable. I wasn't thoughtful and attentive in the way that I paid attention to assignments. I wasn't like, there's a reason. Like, I didn't hire you because I didn't want to keep you. I hired you because I wanted you to do the job. I didn't fire you. You fired you. Like, I've said that to employees before when I let them go. Like, I didn't fire you. You fired you. I hired you because I want you to do this job. You're not doing the job. You fired you. Do the job. I'll keep you. I'll pay you more and more if you do the job. But I'm letting you go. I'm not going to pay you to not do the job. Like, do the job. So I think the reality is if you examine the habits of, like, look, the famous thing everybody says, like, nobody ever on their deathbed said, I wish I spent more time at work. You're right. No one ever said that. But you know what some people probably thought on their deathbed? I wish I wasn't such a fuck up in my life. I wish I'd had a better life. I wish I'd taken better care of the people around me. I wish I'd made better choices. Okay, what is that except saying I wish I'd spent more time at work? I wish I'd spent more time in worthwhile, productive suffering or effort. I wish I'd traded what I wanted in that moment for what I wanted most. I think a lot of people on their deathbed think that. But do they parse it as, I wish I'd spent more time at work? Like, look, what is that except trying to advocate for hedonism, which, by the way, is 90% of what the culture throws at you, is advocating for some form of hedonism. Yeah. So I genuinely believe that divorce can be a powerful opportunity, or any breakup or a firing, anything can be a powerful opportunity to say, what aspects of myself, my present self, my presentation towards the world, my forward-facing self, were responsible for this or contributed to this in some fashion?
Now, that's the self, but if someone's going into a second or a third marriage, or even just a second relationship, how do you then see the other person rightly? You've already married a bunch.
Great question.
Rose-colored glasses are on immediately. What do they need?
Try not to have the rose-colored glasses on because all the red flags just look like flags.
Yeah.
So just focus on, I think, that honest accounting, that naked lunch where you look at what's at the end of your fork. Like, I think you have to say, okay, what was my part in? By the way, you might have got fired because your boss is an asshole, like who has unrealistic expectations. And that's okay. But now be on the lookout at your next job of like, is this boss similar to that boss? And like, you know, try to figure out like, okay, maybe this doesn't pay as well, but maybe the quality of life is better and this boss has a different track record. Like, we can be learning from these experiences, and then they're not failures anymore. They're actually like lessons, they're opportunities, they're teachable moments, whatever you want to call it. Like, they're an opportunity for us to grow. And I think that pain can be an opportunity to grow. Anyone who's ever exercised in a significant way knows that. You have to be sore for your muscles to grow. And if you go, well, I'm not going to work out again until my muscles aren't sore, well, then you're never going to get in a regular habit of exercising. Like, what you have to do is be used to the fact, I'm going to be a little sore. That's the price I have to pay in order to get into a physical activity habit of any significance and any enduring quality. Okay. Like, why can't we just say that, I have to learn about what it is that, what was I looking for in this other person? What did I misinterpret in this other person? What did I react to in a way that was or wasn't a good idea? Like, what about this person that I found appealing? Like, it took me as a man well into my 30s, if not 40s, to figure out that my penis wasn't always the best compass for relationship choices. Like that what my penis and I both felt would be a good idea was very often disconnected. Like he was very fixated, like, hey, look, tattooed goth girl. Like, that's what he was like on. I was like, right, but she seems very angry. You know, don't even worry about it. We'll figure that out. Like, it was like, I had to have sort of a war, you know, like I was chained to an idiot a lot of the time as a young man, you know, and I get that. Like, I get it. It's one of the perils of testosterone, I think, is that like, you're just chained to an idiot. But at some point you're supposed to go, oh, maybe what looks really good to me right now, like, might not be the best thing for me. Like, maybe I find that appealing for reasons that are not healthy or that are not going to serve my best long-term interests. Like, that's okay. Like, that's okay. It's a bright, shiny object. Like, and by the way, I can try to pretend that's not true. Why? Like, no, that's very appealing to me. But is it good for me? No, it's not good for me. Like, oh my God, that chocolate cake looks delicious. It probably is. I'm not going to feel good if I eat it. So I'm not going to eat it, you know, or I'm only going to eat it on occasion and I'm going to know, hey, you're not going to feel great after you eat this.
How many of your male clients, especially with the repeat divorces, do you see chase attraction as like the number one?
I think men and women, but men are uniquely poised for that. I think men in modern moment in the last 10 years, I think because the culture has pilloried men for so long in the last 10 years, like you can trace a lot of it back to whenever Beyonce's song Girls Run the World came out, like just the audacity of a song that would be, who runs the world, boys? Who runs the world, boy? Like, that would just be bizarre. There's a billboard on 11th Avenue that it's got Julia Fox, the actress, on it. And it says, men disappoint, David satisfies. This is for protein bars, primarily consumed by men. Like, could you imagine? Women disappoint, David satisfies. It'd be a hate crime. Like, but it's totally fashionable to, like, you know, men suck and we're terrible and the patriarchy and blah, blah, blah. I get it. But like, the truth is, you know, men as a function of that are really hungry for praise now. Like, we want somebody to tell us that we're not the piece of shit that everything else in the culture is constantly telling us. That's why Andrew Tate's rise. That's why this battle between men and women is increasing. This distance between us is increasing, you know? And it's why things like a trad wife concept or stuff like that are becoming so appealing for men and for women who are trying to seek the attention of men. Because there's this sense of like, wait, but maybe we're not all like awful. Couldn't we all, like, all women want is to be loved and seen and respected. All men want is to be loved and seen and respected. Like, these are human traits. That's all. It's all. Like, I had occasion this year to spend time with Gloria Steinem, who is in her 90s and is still an amazing powerhouse intellectually. And I was part of this really lovely group talking about sort of the future of men and the future of masculinity. Humorously, there were 30 people in the room and 27 of them were women having a conversation about masculinity. And one of the men was wearing a dress. So I think, and one of them was in their 70s. So I think I represented 100% of the free testosterone in the room. But what was interesting is we were talking about masculinity and femininity. And there was this idea of like, well, toxic masculinity. Because like we don't talk about masculinity anymore without the word toxic in front of it. And so I just happened to say like, what's non-toxic masculinity? Could someone just explain that to me? Because if you describe femininity now, like that doesn't mean anything. Like what are masculine traits? Like when you keep saying masculine, toxic masculinity, what is non-toxic? It presumes that there is a non-toxic masculinity. So what is that? Yep. You can't say strength because that's, no, for what? Women can't be strong? Okay, so what is non-toxic masculinity? Crickets. Yeah. No one could. And what did Gloria Steinem say? She said, yeah, I don't really buy this masculine, feminine thing. She's like, there are just human traits. And some of them cluster in men and some of them cluster in women. And those clusters sometimes are purely biological or hormonal, and sometimes they're cultural, and sometimes they're an amalgam of all those things. And I was like, see that? Like, that's why she's Gloria Steinem. Like, that's exactly right. Like, I think anyone who says otherwise is selling something.
Now, how many you've done thousands of divorces, correct?
Probably. I never kept like a...
How many repeat clients do you think you have?
Ooh. Well, by repeat clients, I have a lot of people that I have a thing going with my clients that if I did your divorce, that I'll do your prenup for free if you get remarried. So I have a lot of people that take me up on that. In terms of repeat divorces, I would say a small percent, maybe 10, 15%. You know, a lot of them, the divorce, if you get divorced the first time and I did your divorce and you needed somebody like me, it means you had a contentious, ugly divorce, and usually that you have money because I mostly represent people with a lot of money now.
Yeah.
I'm expensive. I tend to now represent people that if they had an ugly divorce, they're going to have a prenup next time. So then it's not going to be as ugly because they're going to have a prenup.
Well, what I'm wondering is, have you ever done a case where maybe you did the first divorce and they had an affair partner and then they married the affair partner?
Oh, yeah. All the time.
And then they ended up getting divorced.
Divorced from that person. Yes, I've done a bunch of those. That's where the old saying comes from, that a man who leaves his wife for his mistress just leaves a job opening.
So what happens, because now you're swapping in the old for the new, but what happens when like that person stops being their affair partner and they actually become their spouse? What
do you think happens? They're no longer in a triangulated relationship. Now they're just in a regular relationship. Like they just create a job opening. Like they've traded, the relationship where they had issues and problems, and rather than addressing those issues and problems in a constructive manner and maybe even deciding that, hey, this person isn't meeting my needs and we need to end our marriage, they go outside of the marriage while still in the marriage and have a triangulated relationship. Then they end this and turn this into the baseline that was. Now, is it possible that they now learned from that experience and in this new relationship with a person who they're more suited for, they're going to bring that new skill set to bear? Of course. And I've seen examples of that. But more often than not, history repeats itself. People don't learn the lesson. Like you see this in like recovery communities. Like I used to be all messed up on drugs and then I found the Lord. Now I'm all messed up on the Lord. Like you just trade one addiction for another. Like you just find, like I know plenty of people that were addicted to alcohol and now are addicted to exercise. Or were addicted to drugs and now they're addicted to their work. Like it's addiction is any behavior you engage in to get away from feeling what you would have felt if you'd done nothing at all. So whatever it is, whether it's sex, whether it's playing the music too loud on your radio while you're driving, whether it's looking at your stupid phone when you could just be sitting there, it's what am I doing to get away from what I would have been feeling if I'd done nothing at all? So if you process this, but people, again, for many people, the unexamined life is fine. It's fine. I don't want to look at it, so I'm just going to go with this person, and then I'm going to become dissatisfied with them because they're just as human as the other person was. But have I seen examples of people that an affair taught them what they really want in relationship, and they found deep connection with another person, and that person was really their person and a better fit for them? Yes, of course. I've seen that before. You know, it happens. I think what we all want, and even in this conversation, what we want, what is any of this research? It's all like, let's find patterns so I'll feel like I've got some sense of this. You know, like I get that. It's very human. Like, you know, this person has lung cancer. Did they smoke? Like, it's not like, okay, they deserve it if they smoked, but it's like, oh God, wow, why did that happen? Please tell me that they do something that I don't do and that my mom doesn't do. Like, because what are you saying? I don't want to have cancer. I don't want my mom to have cancer. So what did this person do that was different? Like, give me some control over this.
So true.
Like, but that's all this is, and again, my dear friend, Mark Delaney, who's a psychedelic facilitator I've worked with, says to me all the time, relax, nothing's under control. Nothing's under control. Relax, nothing's under control. Like, you're kidding yourself. The illusion of control, the desire, it's so human, it's so beautiful, we're adorable for it. But that's what we should just tussle our hair every time we go like, well, but statistically, what's the likelihood of a person like, I know what we want. We want to see a trend. And I'm not suggesting we shouldn't do research. Like, I tend to like that. I like pharmaceuticals. Like, I tend to like that they go, okay, this is what kills people and this is what doesn't. But there are some things that, like, we got to dig a little deeper into what's going on here. And there's no rule. Like, I wish you could say once a cheater, always a cheater. Or I wish you could say, like, I never get anything right the first time. Or there is redemption. I believe in redemption. And people have like, I wish there was some rule. It'd be great. It's not how it works.
Yeah, I feel like the ultimate dance of life is what can you take responsibility for and what do you have to surrender. And for most of history, obviously, that was a spiritual thing of like, I'm not God, I'm not the universe, I can't control everything, and there's just fundamentally things that I'm never going to be able to control that I try to control, and then it works against my own well-being. And then conversely, I mean, this entire conversation, we're talking about things where you do have some control, you could take responsibility for your own actions, but yet we don't do that.
Yeah.
And so
we're trying to make sense or meaning of all of it. I mean, I think it's one of the issues I've always had, as I've discussed here before with you and with Carl Lenz, is like, God's a sadist from what I can tell. Like, if you look at it a certain way, like, he's constantly killing babies and dogs and like doing horrible things. And the idea is, like, in some is that, like, if you have a popularity contest where enough people are praying for somebody, that he'll intercede. But does that suggest then that if someone doesn't have a lot of people that are praying for them, that then God's going to abandon them? Like, what kind of prick is that? Like, that's crazy. Like, but what do? We go, well, it's God's plan. We don't understand God's plan. Okay. Well, if we can do that, which is fair, it's totally fair to be like, yeah, we don't understand. We're trying to make meaning of something that doesn't really make sense. Like, it doesn't. Like, God made the Holocaust. Why? Like, why? Is he anti-Semitic? Like, what was the reasoning? Like, he wanted to teach us a lesson? Boy, couldn't there have been a different way to teach that lesson? And by the way, did he teach it? Did it work? Like, I don't know. Like, that seems weird. Was he just asleep that day? Like, was he not around in the 40s? Like, was he busy? What was going on? But what we say is, well, we don't understand his plan. Okay. So then we can say that then. We can say, and by the way, what do non-religious people say? Well, none of it has any meaning. I mean, that's the funniest answer of all. Like, yeah, none of it has a meaning. So you're saying the same thing. Like, I don't understand God's plan. There isn't a God, so there is no plan, and it's all just randomly happening. Okay, you're saying the same thing. It's chaos. Now what? You want to insert non-chaos and pick and choose where you're going to insert your non-chaos? Like, I don't think there are hard and fast, really simple rules to coupling. To the extent there are, they're quite simple, I think. We've added layers of complexity to it, but I just think they're not that hard. I think it really is just, we both want the same thing. figure out a way to stay connected.
So 5 big clues to make up this idea that we're talking about today that we covered: blowjobs and granola, expensive weddings, women initiating 69% of divorces, 86% of divorced people remarrying, and second marriages failing more often than first. So if you were to put all of that together, what do you think it actually takes for a marriage not just to last in an unhappy state, but to actually thrive in the long term?
Honesty. I think it comes down to honesty. Being honest with yourself about what you're feeling, what you want, what you're afraid of, what you're moving towards, and whether it's going to make you feel the thing that you hope it'll make you feel when you get there, if there's a there to get to. And then being able to be honest with the other person about that. And for both of you to be able to do that simultaneously. And maybe even ideally helping each other do that. Helping each other be honest. Like I think there's a really lovely opportunity in every pairing, including this conversation, to say to each other, I'm going to be honest with you in this conversation. Can you be honest with me? And can we promise that we're going to hear it with like love and give each other grace? And we're going to like not be here to try to get offended. Like if you'd sat down with me, Jim, and said, okay, I'm looking forward to this debate with you, my energy would have been different than I want to have a conversation with you. Like conversation suggests communality, connection. We're trying to get to the same place, not I'm trying to prove you wrong and myself right. So isn't it a lovely invitation to just say, let's just be honest? Because what do all 5 of those pillars have in common? They're all about like not being honest with yourself and not being honest with your partner, or not being able to handle your partner's honesty back at you. You know, whether it's what is a wedding? Be honest about what it is. Is it a performance? If it's a performance, then let's just approach it as a performance. If it's an opportunity to share space with a bunch of people in the timeline, let's present it that way and not worry so much about what the favors and party favors will be. Let's just enjoy the fact that we're all going to share space for a little while in this terrifying experience of life that's all too fleeting. Like, all of this is just about being honest with ourselves and honest with each other. And I think that all 5 of those pillars, it's that simple. There's nothing to buy. There's no book you have to get. There's no course you have to take. There's no coach you have to hire. Like, it's just that easy and it's just that hard.
It's vulnerable, for sure. It's a vulnerable experience to truly be honest with another human being.
But isn't it also like the nicest thing? Like, isn't it nice just to sit with another person and just go, I'm scared. Are you scared? Yeah. I'm confused. Are you confused? Yeah. I don't understand all of it. I don't either. Okay. So you don't think I'm stupid for that? No. If you are, I am too. Okay, good. Then I'm not alone. No, neither of us is alone. Like, isn't that lovely? What could be better? Like, what could be more worthy than that, than pursuing that and saying, yeah, like, I don't know, maybe we'll never figure it out. And then we'll just be ignorant together. Like, or maybe we'll figure it out and we'll figure it out together, you know, like, but to me, that's the nicest thing, whether it's love, whether it's marriage, whether it's friendship, whether it's children, whether it's your grandparent, whether it's the person, the stranger walking down the street next to you, you know, like we can extend that to each other in a really lovely, as you said, vulnerable way. But I think we have to be brave enough to be vulnerable. I think it's the hardest thing. I hope that the next chapter of this culture will define like strength and bravery as including vulnerability and being vulnerable without being weak. I actually think there's something really, really strong and powerful and brave about being vulnerable.
Well, James, thank you so much for
It's always fun,
being
man.
here again.
It's always fun. You're always one of my favorite conversations to have.
Yeah, you're such a well of wisdom, and I think if I think about the most impactful voices today on relationships, I mean, you have to be up there.
That's wild.
I really do. I think
it's so weird. This is still also weird to me because people come up to me on the street now more than ever. Like 3 people on the way here, and it was only like a couple blocks. And they're like, oh my God, like this stuff is so great. And I'm like, dude, Like, this is just me. I'm as confused as any of you. Every Wednesday morning, I'm in therapy trying to figure it out. I'm stumbling my way through it just like everybody else. Like, I don't think I'm saying anything that profound. I think the only wisdom you find on mountaintops is the wisdom you brought up there. Like, I don't think I'm just saying it. Maybe I say it well, but like that's just, I was born with the gift of words, but I think we all have all the same stuff in us. I don't think I'm any wiser than anybody else. I think we all feel the same stuff, and that's why it resonates. But thank you. That's very kind of you to say. And you certainly bring out something curious in me and inspire me. I find our conversations very few people. I can think of like 3 people, 4 people who I just keep coming back, like when Steve Bartlett, you, Mark, Softwood Underbelly, they're the only people that every time they call, I go, yeah, I'm coming. All right, let's do it. Because I think what you bring out, because of your own curiosity and empathy is really, I feel good at the end of this conversation. I walk out and go, oh, okay, yeah, like it reminds me.
Yeah. Thank you. I mean,
thank you.
Really, really encouraging. All right, you stayed with me all the way to the end, so let me bring you backstage for a minute. I want to show you how we decide what actually makes it into an episode. As you learned at Mighty Pursuit, we're mapping the human experience. But a map only helps if the guidance inside it can be trusted. That's why we make sense of life by bringing together 4 sources: science, spirituality, history, and lived experience. Science tells us what the evidence supports. Spirituality teaches us what life is for. History shows us what people have tried. And lived experience brings the final test. Does any of it actually hold up in your real life? Now, not every episode draws equally from all 4. Today, we touched on some of the science, but with James, you really got the lived experience. 25 years of watching marriages fall apart up close. Ultimately, the goal is always to build the fullest, most trustworthy picture we can. So if you want to keep building a clearer map for your own life, there are 2 ways to stay connected with us each week. Every Tuesday, the podcast helps you make sense of one part of life. And every Thursday, our newsletter, The 9, zooms back out across all major 9 areas so you don't lose sight of everything else that matters. So subscribe to the show, join The 9 at mightypursuit.com/The9, and I'll see you next week.